Hello again. I'm going to be discussing using the parsing module to do parsing problems, and also how to submit problems using the Logic 2010 program and how to verify that they've been successfully submitted at the assignments website. So here we are at the entry window to Logic 2010. We have the right course options, so we'll click OK. Now I'm going to restore work from the little dummy account I've created. And I have several backups here, and I'm going to choose the most recent one. It always keeps 3, and you always want to use the most recent one. And here, this preference controls what color the contents of the modules will be. You'll see once you get into the program that the colors are by default are this blue and gold that the icon uses. But you can set it to monochrome, and then they'll be black and white. I'll leave them blue and gold for now. Font size, I've set this to 20, so it's that the font is fairly large. So here we have the main menu, and there are 3 parts to the main menu. Here we have, in the first part, the different modules, and the modules are where you will be doing all of your exercises, so each module gives you a different kind of exercise. We're going to be doing parsing today, and you'll be doing symbolization for the next assignment, and then recognizing rules and derivations as we go forward. In the second part, there's information about, there are buttons that get you information about the logic program, and then also this last button will open the logic text. The logic text is packaged inside of the program in a little folder, so if you click this button, a folder will open containing the logic text that's now on your computer inside of the logic program. You can also get the text from the course website. And then down here we have a button that takes us to the assignment page, a button that shows us user information, the backup button to back the information up remotely, which is not the same thing as submitting. If you'll remember, there's an assignments database which you submit your work to, and a backup database which you can then restore work from, which is what I did when I started the program. And then delete work quit, which deletes all the local work, and just plain quitting, which doesn't do that. So let's go to the assignments page. Open the assignments button and go to the assignments web page and see. So this is what it looks like. I'm already logged in, as it turns out. So we can see here that our first assignment is due on Thursday, April 6th at 11:59 p.m. And it's problems, parsing problems 102 through 1020, only the even ones. And then this is how many points each of them is worth. And here's the score for problems that I've submitted. So for these problems that say 0 and n, that means that the n means I haven't done any work, and that's why I have 0 points. The C here means that it's correct, and the score displays there that I've gotten 5 points. And if we click there, this shows older submissions. I'll talk about the program when it's calculating your exercise on a homework score always looks at the latest submission up to the due date. And then it calculates your score based on that submission, so that you can submit a problem with no work or incorrect or incomplete work many times. As long as you submit a problem, the last time you submit a problem, it's submitted with correct work, you'll get the points for it, as long as that submission is before the homework due date. If you submit correct work after the homework due date but not before, you're not going to get any points. And if you submit correct work and then later submit incorrect work before the due date, again, you won't get any points. It always looks at the last submission prior to the due date, so you want to make sure that that's the one that has the correct work. And you can always come here and see that. If you do some work on a problem but the work is incorrect or incomplete, then there'll be an I here instead of an N. So you always know whether or not you've done the problem correctly, even before you submit it, as you will see shortly in the logic program. So, but we remember here, okay, parsing problems 102 through 120 even. So let's go back to the logic module, the logic program, and let's find, here's the parsing module, so let's open that up. And, oh, well, okay, good. So this is just the no problems selected yet. So select here will give us the menu of problems. And if you see, there's a common feature throughout the program that if you let the mouse hover over a button, you'll get this pop-up here which gives you keyboard shortcuts. And there are keyboard shortcuts throughout the program that become very useful. So those are worth slowly learning. You don't need to worry about them right now. So we'll select. Now here we have the select menu, and there are lots and lots of problems in here. We'll be working up through chapter 3. You see that some of the problems are black and some are green. So the green ones are ones that I have successfully completed. The black ones are ones that no work has been done on. And if we were to go into a problem, let's go to 111, and let's say I said it was an informal notation, and I check it. This tells me, so we get lots of information already. I'm told it's incorrect, but it's complete. We'll talk about why it's giving these answers. We're actually not going to get into this problem in much detail, but why is it giving us this, the incorrect and incomplete? What I want to note here is that it tells you it's incorrect, and so if we save it and then go back to the select menu, oh, it's turned red. Okay, so the menu here shows you what the status of your work is on each problem. Green, complete and correct. Black, no work at all. Red, incorrect or incomplete. So let's go look at our 1001 and delete the work on this problem. So we have to say, is this an official notation, informal notation, or not well formed? And then if there's a tree to be done, we have to do the tree. So this is official notation. Remember, informal notation is only, a sentence is informal notation only if it's a conditional whose last external parentheses have been dropped. This is not a conditional, so it's not informal notation. It is official notation. Why? Capital Z is a sentence letter, and every sentence letter is a sentence, so it is. So we can click check here, and yes, we're told correct and complete. There's no tree to be done. It doesn't have any parts, and so we're told that the whole problem is correct. So we can save this, and let's do another problem. Let's look at problem 3. So here we have to decide, is it official, informal, or not well formed? Well, it's got parentheses around it, and it doesn't start with a negation, so if it's anything, it's going to be a conditional. And lo and behold, there is an arrow in here. And so this is going to work out if between the arrow and the left parenthesis we have a sentence, and between the arrow and the right parenthesis we have another sentence. So not S, that's a sentence, because S is a sentence letter, not is a negation attached to a sentence letter, so that's good to go. But PQ is not a sentence. P is a sentence, Q is a sentence, but just the sequence PQ is not a sentence. So we're going to say this is not well formed, and we're going to check it. And we're correct. So this is correct. It's not well formed. And there's no annotation here. Before, if you remember in 1001, it said complete. Here it doesn't say anything. There's no tree to be done at all because it's not well formed. So good. We're happy with that. Let's go do another problem. Oh, you see the answer. Oh, well. So is this official, informal, or not well formed? Well, again, it's a conditional if it's anything because it starts and ends with parentheses. And we do have an arrow here, and there we do have a sentence. So we need to have a sentence here between this arrow and this parenthesis. But this is not a sentence because the negation can't form, doesn't form a sentence by going in between two sentences. It always has to go at the beginning of a sentence. Of course, if you have a negation, you can put that inside of another sentence, but you can't have a negation join two sentences, which is what would have to be going on here if this were a sentence. But it's not. This thing is not a sentence, so it's not well formed. Check it. Again, correct. Hooray. We'll save it. You don't have to save it. If you didn't and you clicked select, it would ask you if you wanted to save it. Let's go to problem 1007. Let's delete the work here. So we ask, is it official, informal, or not well formed? Well, it's hard to say. It looks like it's okay, but it's not clear. So if it is a sentence, then we should be able to do a tree for it. And remember, when we do a tree, at each step of the tree, we find the main connective, remove the main connective, and write down the two things that were added to that main connective to form the thing at that step of the tree. So we want to find the main connective here, and then break it into its parts. So could this be the main connective? Well, if we click on it, no, it doesn't work. We get, it's red, there's a little noise. Why is that not, whoa, let's, there we go, not select that anymore. Why is this not the main connective? Well, if it were the main connective, then between this parenthesis and here would have to be a sentence, or that whole thing would have to be a sentence if it's in informal notation. And this is not a sentence, and nor is that a sentence, right? There are some parentheses in it, but there are no conditionals, so it's not a sentence. And for the same reason, this is not the main connective. But this is the main connective. Here we have the sentence are, and then this whole thing, as it turns out, is also a sentence. So between this and the right parenthesis, sentence. Between this and the left parenthesis, sentence. So we're good to go, and we know now this is official notation. How do we know it's official notation? Because it has those parentheses out there. It has the parentheses around the whole thing. If it was in informal notation, then this parenthesis would be gone, and that would be gone. But since there are parentheses here that aren't showing up there, it's not informal notation. So here we want to find the main connective. For the same reason that this was not the main connective of the whole thing, this is not the main connective of this conditional. Rather, that arrow is the main connective. So now here we have, so here we're down to sentence letters here. Now over here we have to find the main connective, and in this case it's the negation. When you have a negation at the very beginning of a sentence, there are two possibilities. Either that negation is the main connective, or it's a sentence in informal notation, where, so remember, this, like the sentence, let's actually, this is a sentence in informal notation, and it looks like it begins with a negation. Actually, though, remember, it's this, really. So that's not a negated sentence. The main connective of this is this conditional. So when you see a negation at the beginning of a sentence, there are two possibilities. Either the sentence is informal notation and it's a conditional, or it's really a negation. And in this case, it's really a negation because this thing is a sentence and the negation is hooked onto that entire conditional. So here, this is a conditional, and that's a negation. And now, okay, we've run out of all branches. All branches have ended in sentence letters, so we should be done. And if we check yes, it tells us this is correct. And it tells us we're correct here. This was our correct choice, and that the tree is complete, and so we can save it. Now, let's do one more problem. Let's do 004. Actually, we don't need to do 004. Okay, so you see how we do problems in the parsing module. Now we want to talk about submission and other stuff about these buttons down here. So user allows you to create your own problems. Check here. That's how I've been checking the problems to see if it's correct or not. You have to check. You have to ask it to check. It doesn't check automatically as you proceed. So it will only check when you tell it to. So you could. It doesn't give you feedback as you proceed, only when you ask. Saving the problem saves it. Delete the work will delete all the work on the problem. Printing it will print it. Menu takes us back to the main menu. This will close the module window. Feedback, if there's something that you're unhappy about with the program, you don't like the way it's working, this is for that. Don't use this to ask questions about how to do problems. Post those on the discussion board on the website. Feedback is if the program has a bug. Help will open a help document for the module. So we're interested in submitting. So when you submit, you have to enter your password to make sure that you're doing the submitting and not somebody else. That no one else is submitting problems you don't want them to, and you make sure, yes, those are this is the course we want to submit for. So now you can submit one problem at a time. Just click on it, and if you click submit, then you'll submit, and we get a little window that tells us it was successfully submitted. Now, I missed that window. There we go. You can also submit multiple problems. So if you click there and if you hold down Shift and click somewhere else, like I clicked on 007, then all of the ones get selected. If you click and then hold down Command on a Mac, I think, or Control on a Windows, it will let you select different problems. So that's handy. So if we select all those, then we get a message saying that those were successfully submitted. And if there were some that were unsuccessfully submitted, it would tell us that as well. So and then we can go back to this module here and see, or excuse me, to the assignments website and see what's been submitted. This doesn't update automatically, though. Again, you have to refresh it. And so now it has the fact that, oh, I submitted 14 and 20. Sorry, not 14 and 20. A bunch of these. 16, 12, 10. Those just showed up. They weren't there before. I had just submitted them. They didn't show as submitted because you have to ask the database again what's there. So that's what you need to know to submit problems. I recommend doing delete work quit when you're done. if you haven't backed up and you've done work and haven't backed up yourself, it will ask you to. So you enter your password to back up work again. And once you have backed up the work, it will ask if you want to delete. This is deleting the local files. And I recommend doing this. You can't use the program without an internet connection, so it's never going to let you use the program without a connection. It won't let you do any work you couldn't otherwise do. And it keeps it clean. You just always are going to be using the latest file, your latest work file. And that's really can potentially become an issue if you do work in different places. So particularly if you're going to do that, I would recommend always back up at the end of the session and then delete work and quit. And then when you start up again, always restore. So we're going to delete all the files in the work folder, and that's it for this video. If you have questions, post them on the discussion board, and I will get back to you.